right, testing, testing, one, two, three. If you can hear me, if anybody can hear me, just type something. Just want to make sure somebody's here before I start talking. And there's no one here. Or maybe you can't hear me. Let's try it again. Testing, testing. All right, I will wait patiently till someone joins in. If you are here, I cannot see you. Still says 0. So I'll wait till someone types before I start. There's no point in talking to myself. All right, I guess I will keep waiting. I don't think no one's here yet, so there's no point in me starting. Well, you gotta log in. I don't know. I'm asking people to type if they're here, but no one's typed yet, so it's fine. You go. Just log in so I know. Ah, okay. The comments are disabled. Hold on. Let's. What the hell happened with that? All right, hold on. Let me get back in. Figure out what's going on with the comments. Oh, this is baloney. It says enable live chat. Well, let's take off the automatic block. All right. If you can type, try to type. Anybody. Do have one person saying that they can hear me. All right, hang with me, guys. 2 seconds. We're just trying to work this shit out. Hold on, my road dog is helping me out real fast. Just log in so I know. I have 700 things open. This shit is ridiculous. All right. Thank you guys so much for being patient. We're almost there. Oh. promise I'll get better at this as long as I keep doing it more. All right, we're loading. Can you hear me? Oh, this shit is delayed. Okay, all right. How many people are in? All right, apparently we want some little delay for some reason. Mine is live. It's streaming live. All right. All right, let's dance. Well, I don't know how to get off delay. No, because if I refresh it, it'll just turn off. All right, fucker, here we go. Just turn me off on yours so you don't hear the echo. Okay. Hello, this is St. Patrick. Welcome to the Church of Fuck You. Um, I was wondering like crazy what to do tonight as far as like um how to do it or like what the topic is. So I decided to do a topic that I really wanted to do a video on a while ago, but it's really long and I didn't want to make a 15 to 20-minute video, so I figured there was no point in doing a video that freaking long. So what I decided to do is I'll just do it tonight, and it's called Fun with Statistics. Now, the point of this video, um, okay, sweet. The point of this video is to, or the point of this sermon, as some people was calling it, um, is to talk about how statistics can prove a point, and statistics can be like horribly manipulative, and it's really bad if you word it or put it the wrong way. Now, I have a couple of different examples um, on like different things that I just want to talk about. And like one of the big things I really wanted to do, because I hear it all the time, and I'm sure people hear it all the time, and I'll try to post the links as I go along. I hear all the time about infant mortality. United States has the worst infant mortality of any developed nation. We're like 19th or 23rd or 25th or 28th, or it's such a horrible number. And we are, our infant mortality rate is a judgment, or people use it as a judgment on our healthcare status. And they use this statistic a lot to compare us with other developed nations. And, these developed nations have quality healthcare and they have universal healthcare, and they cite this statistic so much. So what I decided to do was actually dive into the statistic and figure out exactly what they're measuring. And obviously, I wouldn't be doing it if it was um, obviously, I would be doing it if, everything checked out okay. So this is what I was able to find when it comes to infant mortality and how people use it. And you will hear politicians, you will hear a lot of people, and I'm not saying any one side or the other. I don't give a shit about that. But you will hear a lot of people use this statistic as far as the United States having a really bad mortality rate. But when you actually start doing a little fact checking, which is the video I did this week about just checking the facts, checking exactly what you're, talking about, and checking exactly what, the information that you're using before you start using it. It becomes really fucking interesting. There are a number of different websites, and I can post a link. I can post the links of these websites as I go along. But there are a number of different websites that talk about infant mortality rate and how it's skewed across many different countries. We all don't have a same standard. There's no standard in reporting infant mortality. That's the first thing people need to understand. There is no standard. Each country isn't judged by the exact same and use the exact same method of reporting. To give examples of what I was able to find, in a lot of countries, they don't report mortality rates or children that are of high risk. Meaning, if you are born under a certain weight, like in countries like Canada and Germany and Austria, if you're born under a certain weight, you're not considered a living child. If you're born under a certain week, like say if you're born before say 36 weeks, premature babies, you're not considered a live birth. Especially if you die. If you die, they classify it as a miscarriage or they classify it as a stillborn. So it doesn't count against their child mortality rate. And there are actually many different websites that um, report or issue this information. Um, and I can read some of it. I'm not going to sit here and just try to read the whole thing. But the way the United States, according to these people, and I've read many different websites. If you guys have something different, please tell me, and I'll gladly read it. But according to different websites, United States report any infant born that shows any sign of life, which means they take a breath, they move voluntarily, they have a heartbeat, they consider that child alive. And if that child doesn't make it, then it goes against their mortality rate. In places like, say, for example, Hong Kong and Japan, if a child is born and dies within the first 24 hours, he or she is reported as a miscarriage and doesn't account against their child's infant mortality rate. So it seems like, and again, I'm using this because this is the information that I currently have. It seems like countries, what they do to, I don't want to say skew the number, but it is what it is. In order to skew the number and to make their numbers look way more impressive than other countries and try to have the best and the best infant mortality rate, is that any baby that poses a risk to their mortality rate, they immediately just disregard as it wasn't alive. So then it kind of throws the statistic into pretty much a meaningless fucking state, because if we start getting rid of all the, I guess, all the children or all the the babies that are born that don't make it, and we just don't count them against our infant mortality rate, of course our fucking numbers are going to look good. If the US had the same reporting mechanism, I'm not saying we'll be much better. We might still be 24th or 25th or whatever number we're falling in at. We might still be in that exact same number, but our numbers would look way better if we start getting rid of the children that have a high possibility of not making it. And to try to judge and to try to use this statistic as a way to say, hey, we need to pass laws according to this particular statistic. And the next statistic that they use, I'll get into that as well. Um, we need to pass better health care because look at our infant mortality rate. Well, if we had the same mechanisms and reported the same numbers as the way other countries did it, our numbers would look, I don't want to say better, but our numbers would look probably as good or maybe not as bad as the numbers that they look now. So diving into that number, just that instant statistic right there, it's really really funny, and I honestly chuckle to myself every time I hear somebody complain about our infant mortality rate as compared to other countries, when other countries are having reporting methods that automatically make their rates look better because any child that is born that poses a threat to that mortality rate, they just classify it as a miscarriage, or they classify it as a stillborn, or they just say, this baby didn't make it out the womb, so it doesn't count against their mortality rate. It doesn't make their mortality rate look bad or make it look worse. Now, again, as I said, we may still have a bad mortality rate if we use the exact same reporting mechanism, but just on the surface and just to the point, we don't have the same reporting mechanism. There's no universal standard of reporting one way or the other. So every country has their own reporting methods, and then what happens is we report it one way, we look like shit. They report it another way, they look amazing, and then we use this statistic to try to change our laws and try to change the way we view things because, hey, we need to be more like these people. Well, fine, let's be more like these people. So any child under, you know, a pound doesn't count. Any child under a certain length doesn't count. Any child under a certain, any premature baby doesn't count. And that's honestly, that to me, that just it pisses me off so much because we use this, I guess, reporting mechanism, and we use this way. And like I said, I'll post a link real fast. This is one from actually Canada. Canada did a study on it and how the way it works. And let me see, this was done in 2012, and they were saying how the way it works is really, I mean, it's really fucked up how they just pretty much change the numbers. In 2012, Canada reported at 18 among OECD nations. The United States was placing 22. Now, if they said if they corrected it, if the corrected neonatal mortality rates calculations were applied, however, Canada and U.S. would be improved 12th and 11th, respectively. So if we actually go by their rates, if we actually use their rates, we would jump up tremendously, and we would actually be ahead of Canada using their rates. So I'm going to post this link. Give me 2 seconds. I will post a link now. I don't know why I came in twice. I don't know what the hell that is. Okay. Going on to the next statistic that I find really interesting, again, which we use to try to change our laws or to change our views or to try and change how we do things, is life expectancy. Now, this has a lot. This has it's interesting in a number of different ways. One, there's actually a chart, and I will post this link as well if you want to view it. Um, where it's the www.cia.gov. So I'm not going to like some bullshit website, and they list all the mortality rates expected, um, life expectancy at birth for different countries. Now, obviously, no surprise that some people will probably expect U.S. ranks 43rd. But I'm gonna dive into this just a little bit, just to tell you how you know people will spout the 43rd number. We have the 43rd rank U.S. 43rd rank life expectancy. U.S. is horrible. We need to definitely improve our healthcare because we have the 43rd ranked life expectancy. Well, we're not talking about, in most cases, we're not talking about like 10 to 15 years. And actually, in no case except one, um, is somebody 10 years ahead of us. Like the worst case scenario, we have Japan, which is 5 years ahead of us, which is fine, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Um, they're 5 years ahead of us, but like majority of the countries, we are within like a year or two of. Now, and I understand some people say, well, that's 2 years of extra life, but again, we're not talking about like our life expectancy right now is estimated is 79.68 years. That's our life expectancy if you're born today in the U.S. 79.68 years. Other countries like Spain is 81.57. You have Finland, which is 80.77. You have Germany, which is 80.57. You have United Kingdom, which is 80.54. So we're not talking about, like I say, people act like when they use this number, they act like it's decades. Like people are living decades more than us. People are living, years and years more than us. It's not like that. It's really not. I mean, literally, we're arguing about months or a year or two. And I understand if this is the only life you have, you want to live as long as possible, and I grant that 100%. But you're not, like, if you move to another country, you're not going to live another 10 to 15 years because you live in that country. Furthermore, which I find interesting in this whole debate, and I'm reading an article from Forbes. I don't have any dog in the fight. I don't know if Forbes is better or worse or richer. I don't know if Forbes is right wing or left wing, so please don't blast me over this. But what they were saying as far as like the life expectancy, if you look at it from many different standpoints, one, cancer survivors, you have a better chance of living in the U.S. than you do any other country. Um, and that's like by far. Not by far, sorry, I'm not going to exaggerate it, but you have a better chance surviving cancer. Um, for people who like to bash the healthcare, as far as like our healthcare is so garbage, look at our life expectancy. Um, it seems like, and there's a lot of numbers to back me up on this, and I will gladly post them if you need me to. It seems like other countries are great as long as nothing happens. Like I read a statistic once, and it's kind of funny I'm using statistics, but I read a statistic once where you're 9 times more likely to die in Japan of a heart attack than you are in the United States. Now, obviously, there are a lot of different things involved with that. Maybe our healthcare is better. Maybe we just have more practice with the shit because people in Japan are dropping from heart attacks every 15 fucking seconds from eating, double cheeseburgers with large fries. Even though that does sound good right now. But, we have more practice in heart attacks. So we are better equipped at handling heart attacks, maybe in Japan, because maybe they don't have that many heart attacks. I don't know. I haven't researched that part, so don't blast me on it. But our healthcare actually works when shit happens. Now, financially, you're screwed. Not even going to argue that. But you'll be alive. Another thing which I find funny is that one of the arguments that some people made is that what happens if you remove the deaths from fatal injuries from the life expectancy table. Now, what we mean by fatal injuries, we mean like murder, which apparently we lead the world in, so that's a whole other argument. Murder and accidents, like car accidents, or people falling off shit, or people bumping their head, or just crazy shit happening. Shit happens. Apparently a lot in the U.S. because we have people who like to, run in the middle of the street with no clothes on because they're smacked on some really good shit and get run over. So whatever, fine. Um, but if you actually remove the accidents, which I know you can't, but if you remove the accidents and the violent crimes, the U.S. actually jumps to number one as far as life expectancy. Japan making the exact same adjustment from accidents and um, like fatal injuries, they dropped to ninth, and these are all the members of the OECD. So our life expectancy isn't that bad if you take into account. Again, we just have crazy shit that goes on here for some reason because, we are at the bottom of the pole when it comes to knowledge and not doing stupid shit. But whatever, that's fine. Um, but another thing that I find really interesting is that if you look at the mortality rate, if we're reporting babies dying at 2 hours, as opposed to say that they were stillborn. Now, it may not be a lot. I actually looked at that. The U.S., I think on average, I believe it was like 11,300 babies die within the first 24 hours. So it's not a huge. I mean, honestly, that's a lot if you say it that way. But in the grand spectrum of like, I think we have like over like 2.4 million people that die a year. It's not a lot. But if you're averaging out, anybody who knows math and has done math or anything, if you average that shit out, that's a lot of fucking zeros in it. And it may not bring it down a ton. It may bring it down 1 percentage point or 2 percentage points, or it may be instead of it being 70, what is it, 79.6 something, it might be 79.7 something or 79.8 something. Who the fuck knows what it be if we average it out correctly? But remember, we're only months apart when it comes to life expectancy. Like I said, a couple countries they have like maybe a year or so on us. The biggest jump, like I say, is Japan, which is 5 years. But if Japan discounts all of their babies who don't make it to 24 hours, then obviously their life expectancy is going to be better than if they did include all the babies who made it to 24, who didn't include the babies who didn't make it to 24 hours. So again, when it comes to statistics, it seems like it's a lot of fucking manipulation in these numbers, and the problem is with the general public, and obviously not you guys because you guys are way fucking smarter than the general public, clearly. Um, but it seems like when it comes to the general public, all they need to hear is a number. Like all they care about is a number. Somebody can get up there, they can quote a number, they'll go to like PolitiFact or whatever they go to confirm the number, and if you have enough people reciting this fucking number, that's all you need. That's it. And people buy this number. They don't care where they got the number from. They don't care how the number came about. They don't care how, what information, what data, what process. They don't care about anything what went into the number. All they want is the fucking number. And statistics is a wonderful way to mislead a lot of fucking people. It really is. And that brings me actually to my next point. I have a couple ones. I'm actually debating on whether to do one because I'm sure my girl's going to get really pissed off if I do it, but I might do it anyway just to, piss her off. Why the hell not? But on like the next one, the whole prison reform thing. And honestly, my girl can vouch for me. I've been sitting here for like, I was sitting here for like an hour just researching every different thing I was going to talk about. So I'm just trying not to blow smoke up everybody's ass. And I'm just really trying to be straight up and honest with everybody as far as the information that I was able to find out. As far as the whole prison thing, we hear the numbers all the time. Now, there are a couple of numbers that I want to throw out there. Yes, there are currently, I've seen different reporting sites. So it's either 2.2 to 2.4 million people in prison. So again, that's like 2.2 to 2.4. Different websites have different numbers. So I'll go with the high one just to be fair or whatever. So say 2.4 million people in prison. Um, what people fail to realize, well, I'm not going to say, I'm sorry, scratch that. 2.4 million, we have a population of 318 million. So we're talking about a fraction of a percent of a population. But okay, fine. It's still high. It's still high. And one of the things that they do is say, well, drugs make up 50% of the prison population, which honestly is the biggest bullshit you ever hear in your fucking life. So just put that in there. They say drugs, simple drug charges make up 50% of the population. Now, there are a couple things wrong with this statistic. One, they're talking about federal prison, not state. Federal prisons, I believe, are around. I don't know how much federal prison is. Let me get that. Let me say that. But from the information I was able to gather when I was researching it, there are about 95,000 people, um, 95,000 people in federal prison right now for drug-related charges. But they don't paint the way they paint the picture is that somebody was just smoking a joint, police came, raided them, beat them down, dragged them, took them to jail, gave them 20 years. When they say drug-related charges, that could be any fucking thing. That could be prescription drugs. That could be cocaine, heroin, meth. People could be running a meth lab in their basement. Who the fuck knows? But they say drug-related charges. And drug-related charges could be selling drugs, could be, receiving drugs, be transporting, whatever the case may be. But again, drug-related charges. So, yes, from the statistics I was able to find, 50% of the federal people in federal prison are there for drug-related charges. The only problem is they never distinguish what drug-related charges they're talking about, which is a huge issue because they can't paint. I think the way they paint it is drug-related charges, and people immediately think marijuana, when in actuality it's not. But fine, I'm not here to argue that. I think marijuana should be legal. I have no problem with that. But here's where the problem comes in at what I have with the statistic where they keep saying, how if we need to redo the whole justice system, there's too many people in jail for drugs, which honestly I agree with 100% is absolutely true. But if we let go all the people in jail who are in jail for drugs, if we just let them all out, we would still rate number one. And you can fact check this. I actually did. As far as rate per capita, we still be number one. You can let every single person out for drug related charges for federal, and the problem comes in with state because we have a whole slew of people in jail in state where drug related charges are like 16% of the population, not 50. And that was like different sites have different numbers. Some say 13, some say 15, some say 16. I'm going with the highest number, 16%. So now we have a huge backlog of 84% of people in state by themselves. Say 84% in state by themselves are in there for drug-related charges. No, I'm sorry, not for non-drug-related charges. 84%. That's still a fucking lot. You still have, say, fine, half the people in federal prison who are in there for what is it? For non-drug-related charges. So again, that's still a lot. We will still be a million plus of people in prison for other crimes. And we looked at the numbers and everything, and we calculated it. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. I'll just fine. If we are not number one, we will still be the one of the highest people or highest countries in the world that has a lot of incarceration. It's not going to change if you let all the people out of jail for drugs. It just won't, because there are a number of people in prison, and I'm not talking about federal prison, state prison, where they're not getting out. Even if you disregard the drug-related charges, they're still not getting out. And which I find really funny is that some people say that the drug-related charges is like their serious crime, is their most, is like they're in there for other shit, but the drugs was the biggest crime. Now, in some states, you can get royally fucked for an ounce of cocaine or for a kilo of cocaine. So if you have a kilo of cocaine and you beat the fuck out of somebody with a baseball bat, you're going to get more time for the coke. That doesn't mean that, all of a sudden you're just as good Samaritan who was walking down the street with a blunt or, walking down the street with some weed and got pulled over, and now all of a sudden you're doing hard time in a federal fucking prison. No. It's all in how they word it. It's all in how they fucking word it. And that's what I find the most interesting about statistics, and that's why I really wanted to do this whole thing tonight. And I really wanted to do a fucking video, but like I said, it'll be way too long. Um, but to me, it's just amusing how we look at statistics and how we change statistics to fit our needs. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this, so I hope she doesn't get too pissed off. But one of the things I've always found funny, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I know it might ruffle some feathers, but obviously I don't give a shit because it's my church. The whole global warming thing. Now, I'm not going to go into a huge thing with this, but I will just say this. I don't know if anybody remember or knows, but there was a time where apparently somebody hacked into the emails of all the top people who were doing global warming. And they released no, sorry, fine. I'm gonna say all the top people. They go, they hacked the emails of people who were researching global warming, and um, in them hacking their emails, they started releasing some of the emails that came out. Sorry, some of the emails that they were exchanging between each other, and some of the information that they were saying was very, very fucking interesting. Um, and I could pull it up if you want, but I'll just remember it off the top of my head. Um, they were saying how, like, we need to only report the data that supports our stance. We need to only, any data that doesn't support our stance, it doesn't need to be in a report. um, Things along those lines, how we need to make our beneficiaries happy. We need to make our people who are financing us happy, and they won't be happy with this data if it doesn't show that the earth is getting warm. So now we have statistics, which I love, and honestly I've argued with my girl more than enough with this. And I haven't actually put it to YouTube yet because I figure I don't feel like going through the whole argument. I get enough shit for everything else I do. um, which I find so fucking hilarious. Everyone who ever argues the global warming thing, and I'm not saying that it's not true, so please don't take it as that. This is my point. It is so easy to say, look at the data if you're manipulating the data. It is so easy to say, check the facts, as if the people who are presenting the facts are manipulating it to be one way. And I'm not saying they're doing this for everything. I'm not saying that, this is the smoking gun to prove that, global warming is a myth or is bullshit. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, if this shit was reverse and like the Republicans or some fucking Tea Party nutbag was found out that he was manipulating data to prove a point for whatever the fucking Tea Party wanted to prove, this shit would have never died. I don't even recall ever seeing. I recall seeing like a snidbit of this shit on CNN, if that. This shit came and went without a fucking whisper. But if this shit was reverse and the Tea Party was discovered by a hacker, you know, release an email saying that they need to manipulate data that guns are actually safe, and they were putting out false data left and right and trying to manipulate it to support the NRA, this shit would have never fucking died. Never died. But it seems like when it came to this subject and all these fucking emails were released and all this information was released about it, no one fucking cared. Like, literally no one cared. And I just find it interesting that a lot of people are willing to accept statistics, even if the people who are doing the statistics have told you or have been shown to falsify the statistic. They're willing to accept it if it proves their agenda or if it proves their point or if they wanted to believe in it. And people will disregard anything that comes about, which, again, going back to my video, check your sources, check your facts. So that's another side of statistics. Sometimes, like I said, I'm not gonna say everything, but sometimes we need to actually check what goes into the fucking statistic. We need to check what methods they're using. Like, are we using all the fucking babies that are born who maybe breathe and cry a little bit and then pass away? Do they count as a live birth or do they not? We need to check everything as far as life expectancy. What are we including? What are we not including? What information is being put in this? What is not being put in this? Because I hear all the time everyone just quote shit. They just quote shit left and right. They quote a statistic. And like another one where, and again, I'm not trying to argue. I'm saying that to my girl, so not you guys. I don't give a fuck if we argue. We can argue all day. But like, there was a huge paper that came out about the whole 98% of the, 98% of the scientists, or 99% of the scientists, 99% of the scientists agree that global warming is caused by humans, and people have been quoting this shit forever. But there are numerous articles out there, and no, not by the Koch brothers and not by Fox News. There are numerous articles out there that say that they actually analyze all the papers, and they talk to some of the papers that people included in their surveys of 99%, and those people who wrote those papers or those people who made those statements said absolutely not. They never agreed with it. They never said it was either human made or man made. They never said that the Earth is warmer. They never said it. But again, we don't care about that. Most people, when it comes to their agenda, they don't give a shit about the information that got into it. They just want to, have that number and quote the number. Now, again, we can argue this left and right. We can argue it up and down. But as I've always said, if this shit was reversed, if this shit was reversed in any facet, any standpoint, if this shit was, instead of it being global warming, it was the fucking NRA, and the NRA was talking about guns and how guns are safe, and how 99% of all people who buy guns or who study guns say that guns are safe, and people start coming out saying that's bullshit. I never said that. This shit would have never died. But this shit, it doesn't even make like the back page of, your shitty local paper. This news just come and go. And most people don't ever think to research it because most people are comfortable with their quotas and their numbers and their percentiles and well, this person said this on TV and obviously it must be true because this person said it and this is a statistic and all statistics are correct. Okay, sorry. Moving on to the next one. Speaking of the NRA, guns and how they report their statistics. Now, this is I find so fucking interesting. It's actually quite amazingly interesting. Um, I love it how when you go on different pro-gun websites, they always say that every second or every 15 seconds somebody is saved by a gun. Or every year 50,000 people are saved by guns, or 70,000 people are saved by guns every 15 minutes, or something fucking ridiculous. And I always want to know, how do you quantify that? Like, where the fuck are we getting these statistics from? Like, how are you coming up with this number? What data did you use? What information went into it? What any fucking thing that you discover that made you feel comfortable quoting this? Because a lot of times, and this is the other part of statistics, which I'm sure people will realize, there are some statistics that people just pull out their ass and it just sounds really fucking good, so they roll with it. And because it sounds really good, and because it fits one person's agenda, they just stick with it because it's amazing. It sounds amazing. It's fucking awesome. Oh my gosh, how do you quantify that? Now, if let's say somebody comes in to rob your store or somebody breaks into your house, you pull out your gun, they come upstairs, you hold that gun on them, say, motherfucker, if you move, you are toast. Okay, you are just a grease spot. You're done. And they don't move, cops come arrest them, fine, gun saved your life. But if you go into your fucking car and you see two guys walking across the street and they cross to your street and you flash your gun and then they walk back across the street, you can't say that gun saved your life because you just don't fucking know. Now, I'm not saying the gun didn't, but there's no way you can prove it did. Maybe those guys actually lived or needed to cross the street because the house that they were going to was a block ahead. So they figure, hell, let's cross the street now. They see some asshole standing in the driveway with a fucking gun. Well, let me get back across the street because I don't want to get shot because I don't know what the fuck this guy's problem is. That gun didn't save your life. It just scared the shit out of two guys who were just trying to get to a destination. So I don't understand how like this is the pulling out of your ass statistics, and you can go on numerous pro-gun websites because I have, and I've just been astounded about how they can just immediately come to like they always say if you have guns it won't mass shootings won't happen if you have guns. Well, how do you know? I mean, seriously, how do you know? Some people, they'll pull out guns and they'll start shooting, and somebody shoot them, and then they're dead. And all of a sudden, they say, "Well, that guy could have killed 50 people." How do you know? You can't quantify something that might have happened if something else didn't happen because it's unknown. You can't just put a figure on it to make your case look good. That guy may have just turned around and shot himself and called it a day, killed no one else. You never know. Now, I'm not saying guns don't save lives. I'm not saying guns do save lives. I personally am a gun owner because if you come in this house, you're fucking gone. I'm sorry. Fuck that. I'll deal with the courts later. You're fucking toast. But if somebody was to break into this house, I pulled the gun and stopped them from doing anything. I can't say for certain that that person was going to kill me. I can't say for certain that person was going to do anything. Just me personally, I'm not going to take the fucking chance. And you can't put my case or anyone's case in that situation in a fucking statistic to say this gun saved this person's life because you don't know. You don't know if that person was there to take his life. That person could have been there just to fucking take his TV, get some Oreos out the fucking cabinet, and then leave. He probably wasn't there to kill somebody. He was just there to get a quick sandwich and just roll out. Who knows? But again, that's still pulling out of your ass statistic. Let's just make shit up that sounds good, throw a couple numbers behind it, and dare the public to prove me wrong. And you really have to be fucking careful of that. Like, really have to be careful of that. Um, my last one that I wanted to do is crime, and I'm using crime as a statistic, and I'm actually be hopefully make this in a way that is not dumb. According to statistics, again, just wrong statistics, the U.S. is safer than actually a lot of countries. A lot of countries. France, for instance, UK, you're more likely to get mugged in the UK than you are in the US. And they use these statistics. Um, this is actually one of the statistics that I think actually is pretty funny because this is one of the statistics that is pretty much generally ignored. Like no one ever comes when everyone talks about the U.S. and crime, they never say that you are safer here than you are in most countries in fucking Europe. No, because a lot of people strive to be like countries in Europe. A lot of people strive to be like Canada. And I don't know the crime rate in Canada. I'm pretty sure Canada is probably less than us. But most countries, most people in this country, oh, I'm not saying most. Some people in this country strive to be like countries in Europe. We want to be like them in healthcare. We want to be like them in government. We want to be like them as far as no guns. We want to be like them as far as low crime rate. But in all actuality, it's bullshit. If you look at it statistically, because that's the only thing we have to go by. Statistically, we look at it from a standpoint of there's more crime in France. There's more crime in the UK. There's like somebody sent me a link on Facebook recently where I think it's like Sweden. I think it was Sweden or Switzerland. Hold on, let me check that real fast before I start blowing shit on my ass. It's either Sweden or Switzerland now is like the number one rape capital in the world. Like they are topping the charts. So while we're trying to strive to be like these countries because we think they are safe, statistically, they're fucking not. Statistically, we are actually better off here than we are over there. And another thing that I found funny, and I should have looked for this link before I actually even started this shit. Um, Another thing that I found really funny is that if you take out major cities, and I know it's be really fucking hard to do because we have a lot of major cities, but if you take out like I want to say 6 or 7 big cities. I think we're talking like Chicago, Miami, DC, LA. I mean, LA is fucking huge. So, but LA, Baltimore. I think it's like one place. I don't. I want to say Houston, but I don't. I can't put it in stone. But if you take out like 5 or 6 cities, our crime rate is actually not bad at all. Our murder rate lowers tremendously. I mean, by far, it lowers tremendously. Because we have hot spots in this country, which honestly I just refer to as fucking third world countries. Because if you've been to places, um, or even seen places or read about places like fucking Detroit, that's third world. So yes, if you visit the third world part of the U.S., shit is crazy. But again, which I like I say, it's really funny. You remove about 6 or 7 cities, and our crime rate drops tremendously. Which means, and take this for what you will, there's just a handful of fucking assholes in this country that just make it look bad altogether. But that's the fun thing with statistics. Because we don't care. A lot of people don't care what's included in it. We just want the fucking number. We just want how the number looks. And we want to use that number to either help us or to argue against it. And we argue against it with our own fucking imaginary number that makes everyone feel good. But in all actuality, just look into it. Just like actually look into it and dive into it and try to figure out exactly what the fuck this number represents. And if you look at it as far as crime wise, we are not as bad as European countries. Even more so, yeah, fine. Our murder rate off the charts. Our murder rate, yes, through the roof. But crime, violent crimes, property theft, all this other shit that honestly you still should judge a country by because the only statistic that people seem to want to care about when it comes to violent crime in the US is murder rate by guns or murder rate, period. That's it. That's the only crime they care about is fucking murder. Well, I think assault, though, yeah, fine, you can live and get up and walk around. Assault is still a fucking big deal. If someone comes and beats you in the head with a fucking 2x4, different things actually matter. If you come home every day and like somebody's broken into your house, that shit. I had somebody break into my car before, and it makes you feel like fucking violated. Like, dude, I just want to camp out in a fucking bush or camp out as a trash can and wait somebody come in here and just beat the fuck out of them because don't touch my shit. But again, it all goes back to the numbers that you care about, the numbers that you look at. Some people only care about murder. Some people only care, if how people die and how many people die and by what method. I find it funny. Um, I'll dive into this a little bit. This actually has to do with the whole crime and guns thing. How when they were talking about um, handgun, guns. We need to ban guns. We need to get more background checks. We need to close these loopholes, and we need to do all this wonderful stuff to make the whole country safe. And in all actuality, if you really look at it, banning assault rifles wouldn't do shit because most crimes aren't committed by assault rifles. Most crimes are committed by fucking handguns. And even more so, you just have hot spots in the U.S. You have fucking hot spots. You have spots, and I'll actually touch on some of the stuff that my girl wanted to talk about, but I wanted to do this for some stupid reason. You have hotspots where like people are just shooting people because you're on the wrong side of town. Like you didn't even do anything wrong. You just crossed the fucking street, and this is my section of the neighborhood that none of us fucking own. We just claim, we're claiming because we fucking live here. You cross my side of town, bow, you're dead. I was, reading stories, and obviously there, you can do it too if you would like. Reading stories where like if you go in certain cities like you would think it's just LA, but not even just LA. Like some guy got killed in Baltimore because he was wearing a red shirt, or I think it was a red shirt. Oh, you get the point. He was wearing the wrong color shirt walking down the street. Guy asked him what the fuck he was doing. He said hold on, he was on the phone. He said hold on baby, let me call you back, let me handle this, and bow, the dude just shoots him dead. Like that's not a country problem. That's just a idiotic fucking person who apparently takes his colors way too fucking serious, and because he's a part of some idiotic fucking gang, he decides that he can kill people for colors. And maybe we need to get to the point where we just start, and this has always been, and I know some people are against death penalty. I am completely for death penalty, especially if you're fucking shooting people over a goddamn shirt. Why are you alive? Like, your life card should be revoked immediately. I mean, like fucking Monopoly style this shit. You pick up a car, you go straight to the fucking electric chair. We fry your ass, we move on. I mean, we're killing people over shirts. We were just reading an article recently where a guy just got sentenced in jail. I think it was either one guy or two, I can't remember. Where he was walking in LA, he went to the wrong part of town. I guess he got in a shootout, and some 5-year-old boy who was in like a Spider-Man costume, he got shot and killed. Like the boy had nothing to do with this shit, nothing at all. And yes, our crimes look horrible because obviously we're in a situation now where we can see every fucking thing. It's not like back in the 80s where the only time you heard of a crime is if it came on channel 5 or whatever channel you watch at 10 o'clock news if you were lucky enough to stay up that late, and that was it. Or if you read the paper. Now shit is instantaneous. Somebody gets shot at 12:50, you're hearing about that shit at 12:51, and it doesn't matter where they got shot at. If it's a big crime, if it's a major crime, if it's anything, you're hearing about it immediately. People get email notifications to their cell phone anytime something fucking crazy happens. Any update, any news update, they're hearing about it immediately. So now we're at a point where yes, our country looks fucking horrible because we report all the horrible shit because more people hear about the horrible shit. But in all actuality, we're not as bad statistically as other countries. We just have fucking spots in this country where people are extremely fucking primitive, and they feel like that. Just you know what? Just to cut the shit, we just have spots in this country where human life is not valued at all. And we just need to get rid of these fucking spots. We need to get rid of these fucking spots. So if we want to improve statistically and we want to be like European countries, quote unquote, a lot of people, and be safe and be happy and be carefree and be loving, okay, fuck the guns. Because you can get rid of guns and they'll go back to beating each other with fucking sticks and stabbing each other with knives. The gun is just a method. The gun is just a method of doing something stupid. Now, yes, you'll get rid of the drive-by shootings. And yes, you'll get rid of the stray bullets. But no, you won't stop the fucking killing. I always argue this numerous times. The bow and arrow wasn't invented for fucking archery class at summer camp. The bow and arrow was invented to kill. And there was many different ways they did it, which I find extremely interesting, but I'll say that for another day. Um, So yes, you can get rid of guns. It's not going to stop the dumbasses. My whole thing is you can't nerf the world. Don't get rid of the guns. Let's get rid of the dumbasses. Let's get rid of the fucking people who doesn't have the basic human knowledge to say, I don't give a fuck what color you wear, go about your business. But unfortunately, we rather blame the tool than the fucking person who's using the tool. We rather blame the system than the fucking people. We rather blame, it's all perpetrated and all, it's all set up for them to fail and all this stuff. And that may very well be true. But there are a lot of people in these situations, and there are a lot of people every year who could kill someone and decide, you know what, I don't want to. I value human life, or I don't want to spend the rest of my life in jail, or you know what, I'm above this, or I'm better than this, and they fucking walk away. They don't put themselves in situations to where I have to shoot someone because of a fucking color. It's the dumbest shit in the world. You're killing people over shit that's not even fucking yours. You're killing people over an imaginary fucking block that you think you own. Are you fucking serious? Because this guy has on blue and I have on red, oh, we're mortal enemies. I don't even fucking know you. You could be the best of fucking friends. You guys could fucking play flag football together on the weekends. But no, we are mortal enemies because I affiliated myself with this dumbass gang, and you affiliate yourself with another dumbass gang, and all of a sudden we have to be mortal enemies until we die because we decide to affiliate ourselves with something fucking idiotic. But that's the world we live in. And to me personally, I don't understand what's the difference between like gangs that terrorize people and like fucking people in, again, third world countries that terrorize people. You have kids who literally can't even stand in their backyard and model a costume without being killed. You have kids, again, who are sitting in their houses doing homework, and there are plenty of stories of this, where kids are sitting in their house doing homework and they're being killed. You have kids just walking from a fucking store, has nothing to do with anything, and being killed. And again, I understand people say, well, if we get rid of guns, we wouldn't have this issue. That's a whole other argument. But the point is, fuck get rid of the guns. Get rid of the dumbasses who are doing it. Because yes, they may not kill stray bullets may not kill people, but that still won't stop them from killing people. They'll find other methods of doing it, and it may not be as efficient. It may not be as clean, but it's not going to fucking stop them. All right, I'm sorry. That was my rant. Um, okay, I'm sorry. All right, I'm back now. It's been 52. Fuck, it's been 52 minutes. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna wrap it up there because I'm tired of shit. I've been up early. Um, I'm sorry. Okay, I guess I have to open up. I'm delayed as fuck for some reason. I don't know why. But if you have anything to say or any questions, um, yeah. See, the German guy who escorted his brother, who escorted a British guy back to his bomber. And they're 20 years later, they became friends. And they were at fucking war. Like, literally, they were at war. And now these people are fighting an imaginary war that no one fucking cares about, apparently. Not even the fucking government. They don't even fucking care about it. They just let them kill and shoot each other and kill random ass people without even fucking stepping in. But if a fucking terrorist. I mean, I'm not saying that Muslims are sane. Please don't take it as that. I'm not saying that Muslims are right. I'm not saying anything of that nature. I'm not saying. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me correct that. I'm not saying. I'm sorry. We'll go this. I'm not saying the crazy Muslims are right. I'm not saying the crazy Muslims are, logical in their stance. What I am saying is, if we get so pissed off at those particular Muslims that do crazy shit, and the government is willing to go to fucking war and send bombs and send drones and do all this crazy shit to take out these Muslims because they are terrorizing people, what the fuck is the difference from these fucking gang members terrorizing people? Like, what is the difference? Now, people say they're doing it for religious beliefs. Fine, whatever. As stupid as it sounds, and obviously we are so anti-religious here. As stupid as it sounds, um, at least they have a point in doing it. Like, they have an actual point. They believe in their fantasy world that their God is going to help them and do all these great things, and they're going to some higher place. As dumb as it sounds, and I agree it sounds completely idiotic, at least they have a fucking point of doing it. These people don't even have a point. They're just fucking killing people and shooting people and all this other shit over fucking color. Now, yes, I know there's drugs involved, and yes, I know they do other crazy shit as far as like how to get money and control blocks and all this other shit. But there are too many people in these gangs and these groups that are just killing people for the fuck of it. Like they don't even have a point. They're not worshiping a god. They're not doing anything, in their brains holy. They're just doing shit just to fucking do it. And if the government is so hell bent on stopping terrorism, how about we start at home instead of worrying about a fucking country that's what 5,000 miles away, that they don't even have a fucking air force to get to us. Instead of focusing on them, how about clean up neighborhoods at home? So one, we can lower our problems, we can lower our mortality rate, we can make people feel safe, and we're so against terrorism. Then how about we clean up our own fucking house? How about we clean up our own backyard and make sure that our own backyard doesn't have any acts of terrorism in it? Who gives a fuck if it's religious or not? Terrorism is terrorism, regardless of if you're holding a Bible or if you're holding a Quran or if you just fucking holding your nuts. Terrorism is terrorism. It doesn't matter in what form it comes in. It is what it is. All right, man. That's it. Thanks for watching. Well, you didn't really watch shit. You just a black screen. I got to figure out how to put something up there. But thanks for listening. I don't know how many people are here, but seriously, it is greatly appreciated. Thank you guys so much. This is St. Patrick, and I will see you later. I'm still going. Holy shit. Apparently, I won't see you later.